Cool, cool. Well, welcome everybody. So my name is Stu. Um, I I'm a product designer and an entrepreneur. I'm in my 40s. Been doing this now for about 24 years. I basically dropped out of school when I was like 16, 17, and I got into web design back in like 1999. And so I've been doing it ever since then. So I've been doing it a while. Learned a lot along the process, learned a lot in the journey. And the purpose of this today is I'm going to try and share a bit about my background and try and help you guys out. Yeah, I'm just going to basically go over one of my startups that I worked on and kind of tell you the journey from sketch to startup. And at the end of the session, we'll have some time for some Q&A. So that's the rough plan for the time we have. So yeah, my name's Stu. I'm originally from the UK, now living in Florida and sunny Florida in the US. Been designing apps for about 14 years. I've been working in web design and development for about 24 years. So I've been doing it well, as I say. I've built at least 6 apps. I built a content management and e-commerce platform back in, well, a long time ago. That would have been like 2004, 2005. And I used that for my clients, my freelance clients. I built a project management tool in 2008. And I also built some invoicing software, so online billing software. I built a startup founder community platform. It's like a social network for founders. I've built a meeting assistant platform for helping, a bit like a Avoma. I don't know if you guys use that. So I built something like that in 2017. And I also built a time management platform. So about 6 apps. 5 of those actually became SaaS businesses. So, they actually made recurring revenue. And 4 of which were successful exits. So I sold 4. Some for a little bit of money and other 2 for a substantial amount of money. So yeah, that's basically been my journey over the last 20-something years. Now I continue to work in product design for a local tech company in the e-commerce space, while I'm basically preparing to work on my next venture. So I'm not quite sure what that's going to be, but yeah. So for now, I'm just in a full-time job, a normal job, as they say, which is fun. So yeah, as I say, the purpose of this mental session is to talk about how I was able to take a sketch and turn it into a startup. And I'm going to be focusing on the first major app that had a successful exit. And I might talk briefly about a few others as well. So yeah, that's basically the plan. So yeah, let's get started, and I'll tell you about my first product that I did. So this was my yeah, thank you. This was my first SaaS business. So as I say, I was freelancing for probably 10 years. So from about 2000 to about 2008, I was doing freelance design and freelance development. And I got into coding back in 2008, and I started taught myself how to code, basically in PHP. And at the time, I was kind of working for a lot of clients, and I had lots of projects. And the only tool that was available at the time was Basecamp. And I don't know, you guys. I don't know if there's anyone as old as me here, but Basecamp was pretty much the only tool for managing projects in around 2010 time. Everyone was using it, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the design of it. I didn't like the way it looked horrible. I wanted something that looked good, felt good, that basically you could manage all your projects on one page. So I came up with this concept called Project Bubble. I don't know where that name came from. It was just like, I guess it was the idea of like bubbling projects up. Anyway, that was the name, and I started designing it basically in my mind. What I wanted was, and this is a quick sort of snapshot of what it looked like. I actually mocked this up in Figma because I don't have any screenshots of it anymore because it's no longer exists. But yeah, basically what I had in my mind was the ability to see all your projects in one page. Now today you've got so many tools out there that do this for you. There's Monday.com, and there's so many tools now where this is the norm, right? But at the time, like I say, it was one page at a time for managing projects, and I wanted to see everything in one go because I had like 10 different clients. I had like about 20 different projects going on, and I just wanted to be like, this one I want at the top. I'm going to drag it to the top. This one I want to be inactive. This one I want to be. This one's on pause right now. This one's active. I need to work on this tomorrow morning. So I basically wanted to prioritize them by just dragging and dropping them. And no functionality like that existed. So I had a sketch in my mind. So that's basically, this is the journey. By the way, this is the journey of the sketch to the startup and to the acquisition. So just to give you a quick heads up. So the sketch stage was basically in my mind and on paper. And I don't actually have the paper drawings anymore, but I had on my mind what I wanted to see, ultimately. And it always starts with a sketch, right? So the good thing is, yeah, as designers, as visual people, you're probably designing in your mind first before you put it onto paper. When I was sketching it, I just started drawing out like what I wanted to see, and I was drawing out the most important things, the key parts of how I wanted the project to look. So as I said earlier, there was like a status that indicated whether it was active or inactive, whether it was on hold. So that was where this green traffic light, we call it traffic light status. That's where that came from. That was kind of going to be on the left because that was going to be front and center to the user. And then we would have the project name. We'd have like things like the tasks, subtasks underneath. And then I wanted to have a start date and an end date, like a start date and when it was due, and then a progress. And then I wanted to have like who owned the project. So that was in my mind. That's what I sketched out. And I wanted to be able to drag and drop those into priority. So, and this is just another example here from the sketches, just basically being able to see that the priority between the active projects and the inactive projects at the bottom. So yeah. And then, yeah, being able to drag and drop them was really important. So if I wanted to move an active project to the middle, I could just drag it and drop it into the middle there. So this was basically, these were my sketches. This is what I had in my mind on paper, even though I've mocked this up in Figma for you guys. And then the subtasks would be like you click on a project, it would expand down. And I wanted like a transition. I wanted like an animation, which in those days was kind of not really a thing. Everything was very static and jumpy back in those days. But yeah, I wanted an animation where it would open the drawer and then show the tasks. And these were the subtasks that were part of each project. So again, everything is on one page. You don't want to navigate away, you just want to see everything on one page. So that was the sketch, and that was what I had in my mind. And basically, I then wanted to, what the next step was in the journey was to create an MVP. So the MVP, wait, and here's where I know you're thinking, they're saying, wait, hang on, no user research. Someone's got their audio on. If you want to just go on mute. Hey, Daisy. Yeah, so let me just go back a step here. So for those that just joined, so we've got the sketch, which I've just explained. And then the next step was, for me in this journey, was the MVP. That means the minimum viable product. And I know some of you are thinking, well, hang on, wait, what about user research? What about interviews? Because when you go through and you learn to be a UX designer, a lot of the time they say, well, the first thing you're going to do is obviously identify the problem. But you should be doing user research, you should be doing user interviews and all that kind of thing, right? In the startup world, that's not really something that happens. You basically have to iterate, you build, you get it out there. And I know I've done a lot of mentor sessions where I've talked about this, that it's all well and good being able to do user interviews and user research, but a lot of the time in the startup world, you're just trying to get something shipped. You're trying to get it out there quickly so you can start basically making money, right? So the MVP really was my user research and my interviews. And at the time as well, I didn't even know really what the user experience journey was. I just wanted to get this thing out there. I just got this quote here. This was kind of good. If you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, then you've launched too late. I thought that was pretty cool because yeah, sometimes you just got to get it out, got to ship it out there, get it out, and see what people think. So after I built the MVP, I basically launched it on a forum, and I got quite a few thousand users. Actually, it blew up, and I had a lot of people sign up and use it. and I had it for free. That's the important thing. So I wanted people to use it. I wanted people to see what they thought of it. Like I wanted to get people's feedback because I didn't know. Again, user research. I didn't know what if it was going to be any good. I was using it first and foremost for myself, but I also thought other people might appreciate it too. So I put it out there. It got used. I had a little feedback widget, so people would say what they think of the app, and they would say whether they liked something or they didn't like something. I remember actually at the time. Let's just jog my memory. There was the way I designed it was if I just go back a couple of slides here. The way I designed it was not like clean like this, like with a nice white background and the what. It was like it was a blue background. It was everything was blue, and it was really like in your face. Like I don't know why I went with that. I was just thinking brand colors. It's a nice blue, and we'll use that as the background. And I was trying to be cool and different. And I remember someone leaving a comment saying it's way too much. There's way too much blue. It's too blue. So I thought that was kind of funny. So I was like, all right, okay, we'll clean it up and we'll make it we'll make it white background. So that was part of the feedback that I was getting, about the product. And there was other things too, like we want to have subtasks, or we want to be able to upload files. I want to be able to share my project update with my client, but they don't have a login. So how do I share that and make it for give them a link so they can look at it? All this stuff. So basically, over the next probably 6 months, maybe a year actually, I was iterating and developing the product for free. And eventually, I got to quite a few thousand regular active users, and I was realizing, man, I can charge for this. I can make money from this. I can create a revenue and start making money. And honestly, I wanted to do that. I guess at the beginning, I was always thinking this could be a SaaS business, but I didn't have a full goal, a business plan. I was just like throwing it out there. So I wouldn't recommend that. I would always say make sure you have a business plan before you start your journey here. But yeah, I didn't know what to charge. I didn't know whether it should be $7 a month, $20 a month, $50 a month. I came up with some pricing. I put it out there, and I created some premium plans. But I didn't know what I was doing, and that's why I've said it's a startup, folks, because I was a startup. I didn't know what I was doing, and that's okay. It's okay. I charged $7 a month, I think, or it might have been 5. It was super cheap. I had actually no. I said you can pay $7 if you want to, because I was just again a designer. I didn't feel like the product was worth anything, and I have some comments on this later. And I was like, I don't want to charge for this because it's not worth $5 or $7. So you pay whatever you think it's worth. Someone paid $50 a month, and most people didn't pay anything. So someone paid $1 a month. I said you can put in the amount that you want to pay, and you can ring up a subscription for the amount you think it's worth. Bad idea. Don't do that. Don't do that. I was making recurring revenue, but I wasn't making very much money, and I realized that I could be making a lot more. So I spoke to some advisors and some other mentors, and they were like, you could be charging $24 a month for this easily. So that's basically was the next thing was to create an actual premium plan structure. So $24 a month, and then I think it was 50 something dollars a month, and then I think I had a premium top level plan for about 99 a month, I think. And I anchored it so that the recommended plan was in the middle, and then you had your starter, and then you had your most expensive plan on the right. So people would see that the middle plan is the one that you should go for. Little psychology trick there. So people signed up. I ended up people on the $49 a month plan, and then my revenue went up like that. And I started making some serious money. I ended up going full time for it in about 2011, which is amazing, right? So from a freelancer to making enough money to support my family in 2011 from an app that I made was fantastic. So that was about 2011. So then the next part of the journey came along, the scale. So scaling brings problems that no designer wants to have to deal with. So if you're on this journey or you're thinking of going on this journey and you're a designer, maybe you work for a company, but you've got an idea for an app, and you want to build an app and you ultimately want to sell it, right? Or you want to, at least work full time for it and maybe get acquired one day. You have to go through scale. You have to go through this process of scale, which is not fun for a designer, in my opinion. Some people love it. But I struggled with scaling because it brings a ton of um, issues that you don't want to have to deal with. Um, I've I created this chart because I thought this would be funny. Um, so you got your fun and your skills on one side. So what that means is like when you start, it's fun, right? And then you have all your design skills, and you're leveraging them, you're using them, and then over time, as you progress in the journey of the startup, the fun drops, and your skills that you don't you're not your skills that you originally used aren't being leveraged. So you're not doing as much design. You're actually doing customer service, right? Or you're doing sales and marketing, which I don't know if you about you guys, but I'm not very good at sales and marketing. So you end up not leveraging your skills, and you end up having less fun. Just thought that was kind of funny. Um, so so yeah, but scaling is incredibly important, and I think that if you do have an idea, you will have to learn to do this and do this well. So I've got some tips for you guys. If you do this and you do take your sketch and you create it into an actual product, use virtual assistants. You've got to ask the question, how much is your time worth, right? So if you guys are experienced senior designers and you're getting paid, I don't know, let's say $100 an hour. How much is a VA? How much is a virtual assistant? They're like 15 an hour. So if you're spending an hour of your time uh, uh, doing customer support, going through emails, when you could be spending an hour of that valuable time working on your product or working for someone else, you've got to leverage that time. You've got to use it to hire. You've got to use it wisely, right? So that means you should hire a VA. There's actually a really good book that I would recommend you guys read. It's called Start Small, Stay Small. I'm going to put it in the chat now. Start small, stay small. It's a book by a guy called Rob Walling, and it's really about like being able to leverage VAs and being able to make sure that your time is used properly and you're not getting caught up in things that are just sucking up your time. So this is a really good book to read. Just make sure that you leverage your time wisely. So VAs, and I can talk more about that in other sessions. But yeah, there's a lot to cover with VAs. Sales and marketing. With sales and marketing, you should outsource as much as you can because it's for the pros. So what I mean by that is like hire an agency. If you've got enough money coming in and you're generating some revenue, outsource the sales and marketing because it's tough. It's hard. As a designer, I find it really hard because when you're selling your own product, when you're selling your own services as a creative person, it's very difficult. I find because you don't want to sell out, right? So you hire someone else to do it for you. They're going to say, "Man, this is a great product. I'm putting this out there. I'm going to sell this for you." They'll do the Google ad spend. They'll do all that kind of stuff for you. So as much as you can, leverage sales and marketing pros. They don't have to cost a lot of money. They can be you can outsource that kind of thing. You know, it's not something you have to do. You have to go to an agency, for example. You can find people online, freelancers who will set up a Google ad spend budget for you. They'll set up a campaign, all that kind of thing. So sorry, someone just left. Similarly, use tools to buy time. Time is your most valuable asset. Exactly. That's right, Daisy. Your time is valuable. So yeah, as I say, if your hourly rate is $100 an hour and you can spend 10, 15 hiring a VA or hiring someone, say even it's $30 for a Google AdWords expert, use them because then you've got your time you can leverage on the product. And who knows the only person that knows the person that knows the product the best is you. You're the best person to grow and run the product. So just make sure you're leveraging your time. So same with sales and marketing. Database woes. So again, as a designer, I'm actually a developer as well, so I do know quite a bit about development, full stack. But with my first project that I was talking about earlier, as I was scaling, I had like 40,000 users. So people were hammering the database, pulling their projects, pulling comments, pulling files, pulling all these things, subtasks. And the database was getting hit, to the point where one day the CPUs maxed out and I got an alert at 3 a.m. in the morning that the whole service crashed, right? So 40,000 users are not happy. What do? I didn't know what to do. I could see that the database was maxing out the CPU. I was Googling frantically. I didn't know what to do. I think I did some kind of short-term fix. Maybe it was just rebooting the server every 5 minutes. But I ended up hiring a guy who knew what to do. He came in. He was like, "Oh, you need to index your SQL database. You've got no indexes." Well, duh. It took this query time from like 60 seconds down to about 30 milliseconds, right? Pros. You've got to use your pros here. And as you and again, as you hire these people, you'll learn from them, and then you can end up doing that work yourself, because it's always important to watch what they do, study, because you can end up doing their job for them, doing their job as well later on. Like I'd actually learned a lot about indexing, and I'd applied that to my next startup, and didn't have to hire someone. But yeah, database woes. Same with any technical woe. Outsource if you can. Front end. Again, same thing, front end woes. So the front end that I built was all in jQuery, which is a JavaScript programming language. It's like a framework. It was slow and it needed to be rebuilt. So ended up hiring someone to rebuild the front end and make it fast, and built really well. And again, outsource it. And at the time as well, we were making $24,000 a month. So it was not a problem to be able to hire out these services to people. So yeah. And then I put this comment in here. So too many woes. You get to the point in the scaling and you're just like, man, too many woes. This is bogging me down. This is stressing me out. I'm making good money, but I can't do all this by myself. Well, if you have too many woes, it might be time to look at acquisition. So then I put that in the last part of this this journey here is acquisition, right? So ultimately with a startup, you're going to want to get acquired. That's usually the goal. It should be the goal, really, of any startup. Is when you take your sketch, the ultimate goal is to sell it, right, and to do something else. Unless you want to do the same thing, or work in the same startup all your life. For me, I know personally, I'd like to be in something for 3, 4, 5 years maybe, and then I want to do something new. So I was tired of the scaling. I was kind of burnt out, and I wanted to basically get out and do something new. So I ended up I approached a broker, and I asked them how much my company was worth, and they gave me a valuation, and I said, "Do you have a buyer?" And they said, "Yes, we do." And they found a buyer for me, and I exited for a substantial amount of money. And the rest is history. I ended up that was my first startup. I ended up doing 2 startups after that, one of which sold, and for even more. And I'll talk about that in another session. So all that to say, yeah, the journey, it's a journey, and I think, I don't know if you guys are just wanting to be designers and you want to do the sketching part and you want to do the build, and you don't want to get involved with the actual startup stuff. But I'm sure there are some of you that do want to do that whole journey, and you've got an idea and you want to be able to build it out and actually turn it into a regular recurring revenue. Because remember, as Daisy was saying, your time is valuable. So, you can't just keep on freelancing and working hourly the rest of your life. You have to be building equity. You have to be building something in your life that's going to ultimately pay you later on, through regular recurring revenue or having equity in something. So that's why it's important to be in the startup world and not just be designing websites or designing brands or whatever for people. So I've got some quotes here as I start to kind of wrap up the session and move to the Q&A. So first quote is, "Don't let others convince you that the idea is good when your gut tells you that it's bad." I thought this was kind of a good one. You might think something's great, and it's not. If you've got that feeling, that nagging feeling that the idea is actually, n- you know, not that good, it's okay to move on. Um, it's always, again, that user research is important. If your users are telling you it's no good. So I do have an example. I built another startup after this that was a good idea. It was a meeting assistant, but there was no AI. It was basically you had to do all the work yourself. I thought people were saying it's a great idea, but I had this hunch that it's not going to work, and it didn't. I should have quit a lot earlier than I did, but I ended up continuing with it, and it didn't work out. So there's a good quote there. So if you feel something's not working out, then it's a good time to move on. Make every detail perfect and limit the number of details to perfect. From Jack Dorsey there. So designers, you guys, you want to make everything perfect, pixel perfect. And it's so important to do that as a designer. It's your job, right? But sometimes in the startup world, and I was doing a mentor call with someone recently, I think it was Daisy actually. about, it's really important to do that pixel perfection. But in the startup world, a lot of the time they're going to just want to ship it. They're going to want to say, hey, that's great, but I don't really care about the design. The customer doesn't really care about what it looks like. They just want to be able to, you know, sell their products online, or whatever it is that the product's trying to solve. They don't care about the design. They do care about the design, but it's mostly subconscious. What the first and most important thing in their mind is trying to make some money. Is trying to get their product. Is trying to deliver, grow their business. So it's really important to do that design part, but just remember, to not get too obsessed with it. Limit the number of details. Every startup should address a small, rapidly growing market. I thought this was a good quote because this is more relevant today. So this startup I was talking about was 2010 to 2016. So it's quite a while ago now, right? Now, and it was in project management, right? Now there's the big guys in project management. You couldn't do this app anymore now. It just wouldn't work because there's too much competition. It's too saturated. So right now, if you've got a startup idea, you should be looking at a very small and rapidly growing market. There's a lot of opportunity in AI right now, tons of opportunity. Everyone is doing it. It's like the Wild West. But you've got to think in the niche, like where exactly. Think of a small use group that you can solve a problem for. Start there. It could be 5 people, it could be 10 people. Um, I'm looking at a new startup idea right now with a friend, and it's quite a small market, but there's a lot of money to be made in it. Even if we build an app and only make, say, 10 grand a month, or say 50 grand a month or something like that, and then we sell it, that's still a good business. That's still fun. That's still a good amount of money for us. It doesn't have to be a massive unicorn, right? You've got to maybe not think along those lines. And yeah, think about like what's growing as well, what's hot right now. And AI is definitely a hot space right now. Um, your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. So this is the last quote I have. And I think this is really good advice, because a lot of the time we might think our product is great and we're obsessed with it and we think it's amazing. And then we launch it, and then our customers are telling us about these problems and they're not happy, or they're whatever. And sometimes that can hurt our pride as designers, as creatives. But this is where we learn. It's so important to take this feedback that we have from our customers and be able to iterate on it. The product I'm working on right now for the company I'm working in here in Florida, uh, they have a lot of issues with their back end, this behind the scenes stuff, and I'm trying to build a front end that works really well for them. But the customers complain a lot. And recently we've just started really listening to them and doing interviews and researching and finding out why they're not happy. And it hurts, it hurts, like, especially when they're saying, I went on an interview and they said, oh, I don't care about this button. I don't care about that modal or whatever. This is broken. And it hurts because you're like, oh, well, I just spent ages designing that modal and you don't like it. Or, it's broken. It's not my fault. It's the engineer's fault or whatever. It hurts. But you've got to listen, because actually the solutions that we are providing are all about listening to what the user experience is and those pain points. And that's how we learn. That's how we build an awesome product, basically. So yeah, I hope that helps. I'm pretty much wrapping up my piece now, and I'm going to go to Q&A. So just remember let's keep the questions focused on like the journey. So like the sketch to startup. I can talk about other things too, but yeah, if you just open up to the floor, you guys can use your mics, or you can go in the chat, and if you've got any questions about anything I said about the journey, go ahead. Oh, just leave that slide up.
Hey, Stu, can you talk about, sometimes just going from talking with your friends, getting a beer about an idea to actually doing the work? What does that journey look like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, so what Anthony is talking about here is like you're ideating, right? You're finding a problem to solve, right? There is a problem and you're talking about it, and that's really the most important thing, is trying to identify that problem. Is trying to identify who's the customer, who's that persona, who are you solving this problem for, and that's the most important thing to identify first. And then after that, you've then got to look at ideas and look at solutions. And I think that when you get around with your friends and have a few beers, I think it's so easy to talk about the solutions. And I know I'm guilty of this. I guess that's this journey of this product was like I went straight to the solution really without maybe studying the user and actually doing a lot more research and trying to find out what the problem is and who the end user is, right? And I know that now as spending 20 years doing UX stuff. But yes, I think that so often we jump into the creation, coming up with the designs and the sketches of, oh, it's going to look like this, it's going to do this and do this, when actually we should really make sure that we know what the problem is and who that user is, because as user experience designers, our job is to get in their shoes and to totally have empathy to identify with them what the problem is that they're trying to solve. So, if it's building an app that saves money in the financial world, and it's about you're going to be putting your shoes in the customers who are trying to save money and trying to like cut back on their expenses in the company or whatever it is that you're. So that's the problem. You've got to get into their shoes and you've got to make sure um, what they're trying to solve, and before you jump into the ideation and the creation, because that bit really is fun, right? I think, in my opinion. Does that answer your question, Anthony?
Yeah, I think so. So just get out and like really try to make sure you understand the problem that you're trying to go after. Like I don't know, having going after those solutions are really fun. You start getting into the UI UX and whatnot. But that makes a lot of sense. There's a couple other questions in the chat, so I won't steal all the
Yeah,
air.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where do you put your app to test? Yeah, that's a great question. So I don't know if you were here, Naman, at the beginning with the Project Bubble, the app I was talking about. I basically, if I just pull up this slide real quick. So after I did the sketch and I built the MVP, I put this into free beta. So I just launched it and I put it on a forum and I had users testing it for free. And they were the ones giving me feedback on what I thought was a good a good solution to a problem. And they were the ones I was ultimately interviewing. They had the feedback tool and the widget, and they were saying, hey, this is good, but this is not. They were the ones giving me feedback, basically. So it was tested in a free beta. That was how this one worked. That's not necessarily how you should do it or how it's done currently today. I don't think that is something that really happens now. I mean, Anthony would know better than me, but these days I don't think it's done like that. You don't just throw an app out there and see what people think. This was back in 2010, 2011, so it's different now. But yeah, you should be having a group of users ultimately that are going to use this app, and you should be listening to them for feedback and research. And they're a very identified group of users that are going to give you quality feedback on your product, not just, oh, this app sucks because it's in blue or whatever. That you need them to be actual end users. So that's a good way to get your app tested. Oops, I think I just messed up there my screen share. 1 second. Do we have any other questions? Okay, were any project management techniques or knowledge helpful in a sketch to startup journey? Project management techniques or knowledge helpful in a sketch to startup journey? That's a good question too. Product management techniques. So I didn't go to school. I dropped out of school, so I didn't know anything about product management techniques. So that would be hard for me to answer. I think with hindsight now, after knowing a lot about product management, yes, it would have been incredibly helpful. I would say for the second startup that I did after this, which I will talk about in another coaching session, this I did all by myself. But the second startup I did had multiple team members. And that I would have used something more like Jira or maybe more of a Scrum methodology, agile workflow, and been much more careful about deployment. So with Project Bubble, I would have a fix. I would just throw it out there, right? I'd fix it, throw it up, and then I'd find that I actually broke something else because I didn't have a proper workflow. I didn't have a QA and all that kind of stuff. So I think now that I know about product management, I would have definitely said yes. I would have hired QAs. I would have had a sprint so that I was deploying every 1 week or something like that, not just throwing out a fix. So I think, in hindsight, I wish I had known more about product management with my startup. I think it's incredibly useful as designers to spend some time studying jobs to be done, methodology, product management, agile, that kind of stuff. Just look at some YouTube videos, spend some time on it, because you will end up doing it at some point. You'll be involved in it, and you may even end up being product managers yourselves. So I would definitely learn what you can about product management. Any other questions? As your experience in this field, if you start today in this AI impact world, from where do you start your career? What would be your focus area? And as you mentioned, your dropout, just curious how you will get educated and gain experience. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think the question is like, if I was doing this now, what would I do? And I think this person here is saying, assuming it would be an AI, and it would be. If I was doing this now today, definitely would be working in AI. AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be the new thing that we all just have as part of our lives. So it's important that we right now learn as much as we can as we can about it, and we start messing around with it, like building things with it. I've actually been working on a product. I'm actually trying to build a product completely using AI from a no code perspective. So I do code, but I'm trying to build a product. Think in the assumption with the idea that I don't know anything about code, if that makes sense. And actually, while I'm on that, the slide I'm sharing here has got my Medium link. I'm going to be writing about this soon. I haven't written on Medium for like 10 years. So it's really old what's on there, but I will start. If you guys subscribe to me on Medium, I am going to start writing about this journey that I'm going to go on, which is in AI. And yeah, I would recommend you guys follow because I'm going to be posting some stuff about this. But yes, in terms of this question, I would definitely focus on AI and learn whatever you can. There's some great resources out there for AI. I think like Hugging Face is another one I was looking at recently. It's very technical. Let me see. I don't know if there's any blogs or any things that are non-technical that you can read on here, but this is basically a resource for AI for those that are technical and maybe can code. A great resource for like libraries in the AI space. Thanks, Daisy. Thanks for coming in. It's great to see you. So Hugging Face is a great resource. I would just learn. I think in answer to that question, learn as much as you can. Spend as much time as you can on YouTube, just learning about AI, how it works, and try and build something with AI. Mess around with it. Try and build. Use some of these design. There's some actually look at Bolt. Another website's Bolt.new. Go here. Have a play with this. It's free for a little bit. Have a go at building a user interface with that. It's completely using AI. Again, learn what you can and experiment is what I would say. Being a designer who doesn't code and didn't enjoy it when I tried, should I be trying to learn it, or is no code the future? That's a good question. Yeah, these days you don't need to. I've been noticing that a lot of designer portfolios are using Framer, and you can look at the source code. And you can see it says built with Framer, built with Framer, built with Framer, and it surprises me because I feel like a designer should. They're building their portfolio. I guess they're just trying to get it out quickly, make it look cool, but it kind of adds a lot of weight if you can actually have your portfolio coded by yourself, or at least using a template and messing around with it. I personally think that we should know how to code. It's going to get to the point where in the future everyone is no code websites, Framer, all these different things. AI is going to be generating the code, all this stuff, and then it's going to get to the point where the coders, the engineers, the people that actually know how this stuff's put together are going to be more in demand over the years, and you've got to think that like that means that they're going to be they're the ones that are going to stand out, right? So if you're a designer and you can code, or at least you have some knowledge about it, you know how these things work. Maybe you built a React front end for your portfolio, or maybe you built some cool little widget that does something really simple. If you've got that experience, you've got that understanding of code, I think it sets you apart from a lot of other designers who don't know how to code. It helps you also communicate with developers, right? So as you guys, some of you may or may not know, like when you get a job in product design, you have to work with developers to have them build what you designed and make it look and function the way you expected it to. How do you communicate with them? How do you talk to them and say, this modal doesn't have a transition, or this button has the wrong radius, or something like that? They might not understand, right? So you can say, well, you just need to set the border radius property in CSS, and they're like, oh yeah, sure. Or yeah, you can actually create a transition easily using the CSS transitions, and they'd be like, oh, okay. Because a lot of developers don't know about that stuff because they're not designers. They don't think, oh, I'm going to create transitions. They're just going to get from path A to they're going to get from A to B as quickly as they can. But if you have that understanding of CSS transitions, or maybe I don't know how to use components in React and that kind of stuff, then you're going to be able to communicate with them and say, I think it should be done this way, and it's going to look cool, look better, it's going to feel better, function better, and ultimately it's going to scale better for the end user. So yeah, I definitely recommend. Again, you can do boot camps in this stuff, just like you guys might have done boot camps in UX. You can do full stack boot camps where you can learn how to build front end. And I wouldn't get into the engineering. I wouldn't get into back end stuff. Nowadays, there's a big separation between back end and front end. Like a lot of, even if the back end is built in Java or Node, there's still going to be a big separation. A lot of front end is still very much, it's JavaScript, but there's also still a heavy emphasis on CSS and markup and that kind of stuff. So yeah, Anuj is saying, I agree. Bespoke in a world of template-ish work. Again, like this person is right. With the more templates, the more people use Framer and the more people use all these templates, the more everything is going to become uniform, and you're not going to stand out. I mean, sorry, you're going to stand out because everyone else is looking kind of uniform and the same, so you're going to be different. Anthony's saying, "Bot was really cool. Playing with it now. I need to make sure I still talk to people before solutioning. It's too easy to prototype now."
Yeah, I could build an app while having that beer with friends. I need to make sure I'm still talking to people. It's really anyway. That's all.
Yeah, I actually built an app yesterday in about 5 minutes. The first thing I did, it built it. It errored. It had a red screen, but because I knew what the error was, I was able to tell the AI, "Hey, there's a red error here. Maybe you didn't install the library." And it was like, "Of course, yeah, you're right. I didn't install the library." That kind of stuff. Again, you got knowing about that kind of thing is really helpful. A designer might be like, "Oh, red error. I don't know what to do here. I'm gonna just move on." But understanding libraries, npm, Node, package managers, stuff like that. If you have that understanding, then again, it sets you apart. Prioritize your time for work. Where get cheap dopamine. How to do you manage work and things with self-discipline? How do you manage your work and things done with self-discipline? I'm not sure I understand the question here. I think it's about being able to, if you're basically freelancing. I'm assuming if you're working for yourself or working remotely, how do you manage your time effectively? That's a good question, and I think it is tough. Have something that you're excited about. Have something that you enjoy doing. That you're excited. Like AI for me. Like I love doing that AI stuff. I love messing around with AI and ChatGPT and having AI build stuff and seeing the limitations of AI when it comes to building out designs. Um, I think have something that you do in your day that you're looking forward to doing, and that will help you. That will motivate you. And if you maybe do that at the beginning, then the rest of the stuff you'll already be at work and you'll already be motivated to do the rest of your stuff. So yeah, I think that might be a good answer to that. Is just find something that you enjoy doing in your day and make that the thing you're looking forward to. Any AI tools for designing flows and hi-fi prototypes? Yeah, I mean, that one I posted above is good, bolt.new. There's also Lovable, I think is another one. Let me see. Get the website for that, lovable.dev. It's a full stack. So I think this one is a little bit more technical and less design focused. This Lovable is another app kind of builder. It does build like hi-fi, like functioning applications. Actually, yeah, another one you could look at is, and you guys might have heard of this one, is Reloom AI. Let me post this one in the chat too. This one is something that builds. I think it does the whole thing. I think it does the whole gambit. It definitely builds wireframes, so you can build sitemaps and wireframes. So you can say, hey, I have an app. I have an app idea where I want to be able to XYZ. It will build a sitemap for you, a navigation. It will put in the structure, create like flow diagrams. And I think, and that's in the free version, I think you can even build full functional like actual mock-ups with it too, if you want to. But again, these tools are great, right? But the amount of prompting that you need sometimes to get it to be perfect is sometimes it's just quicker to just build it yourself, do it yourself. But it's good to have to experiment with these things so that you know what you can do, and it's good to have that in your kind of arsenal as a designer. So okay, well, 50 minutes in, I think unless anyone's got any more questions, I'm going to wrap it up there and just say thank you, everyone. Again, follow me on Medium if you can, if you're into reading articles on Medium. Go to my mentor list, my mentor profile page if you want to book me for a one-on-one. I think my availability is now like January because we've got the holidays. But yeah, I'm happy to be on ADP, happy to help you guys out, and it's a pleasure for me to do it. It's an honor and a pleasure. I love working with other designers, and I'm happy to share my journey with you guys. So appreciate you all. Have a great rest of your day, and happy holidays for those that celebrate it. And we'll speak to you guys again soon. Thank you, Jasper. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.